I did want to talk a little bit about ETG. When I got there, there was a guy in the office named Asif. He's the only Muslim I ever met from India. He had gone to England by way of Africa, and it was really fascinating to meet him. Um, it was a different time. This is a whole different time. And he said that when me and the coworker who I went over there with went, that it was such a great thing, and he was so happy that we went there. Later on, people would say that the energy in the office environment had deteriorated, but it was good. I think the people made the profitability of the traders had really increased when I went to London. And I say that it was the best that I'd been in my life. Um, I had made $1.2 million in 5 months, and I said that that was the best I was in my life in terms of. Well, it was always my aspiration to be a perfect decollete camper, and that was the best I was at doing that in my life during those first 5 months of the year at ETG in London. At ETG in London, I started praying at St. Paul's, and I had Swami's voice in my head. What I went through was so insane that I did have Swami's voice in my head in London, and I do have that experience later at the Bedford Motel, where I landed there, and it's talked about. I was pulling into an inn, and Swami was directing me not to go, and I heard his voice say that I don't listen to him, and then I pull out of the driveway. When I hear that voice, I go next door. I try to get a room there at a cheaper place. They're booked. They direct me down the street, and when I land there, there's Swami's photo on the desk, and I have a conversation with them explaining what had happened and how I landed there. But I do claim to have had Swami's voice in my head. At ETG, while living in London in that flat, I had Swami's voice in my head. So, but I tell myself it was the best I'd ever been in my life. I'd always aspired to be a perfect decollete camper, and that was the best I was at doing that. So I never spoke at ETG. I never had a conversation there. The founder of ETG, Bob Cantor, had come to London with his spouse and his child, and when his child sat next to me at breakfast, she asked me immediately why I didn't have a girlfriend, and I never had a meaningful conversation. Had I spoken to Clem Woolreich, my risk manager, if I ever had a conversation with him, I'm sure it would have come up. Pam had asked me why I didn't have a girlfriend. At dinner, Carol had mentioned that my coworker was who I went abroad with was engaged. Bob Cantor told me to engage the opposite sex. If I had a conversation with Clem Woolreich, then I would have talked about Anisha and how I wanted to marry her, and I wasn't sure if we were related. But I never had a conversation with Clem Woolreich. There was a guy in the office named Larry Gussoff who went to Franklin Marshall, and I got into Franklin Marshall. Like I said, to get aid there. I didn't do too well in high school as far as grades were concerned, but I did all right on my SATs. I got a 1300, and I didn't get aid for Franklin Marshall, and Larry had spoken, and he had left ETG and went back and had a relationship with Bob where he kept in touch and went back, and I was hoping for something similar, but that didn't exist for me. I did have friends at Cantor Fitzgerald. There was three friends of mine, and we all knew each other I knew them independent of each other in high school, and they all ended up working together at Cantor. But I never spoke. And that was the ETG. I never had a conversation during my time there. So I had a nervous breakdown after repeated input regarding my personal life as far as relationships go, and I dropped my medications on August 1st of 2000, and it set out to marry Nisha Huja. There's a song Indifference by Pearl Jam, and I used to listen to that over and over and over again in London, and in it Eddie Vedder says something along the lines of that he'll stare the sun down until his eyes go blind, and he won't change direction, he won't change his mind. And in a sense, I did stare the sun down until my eyes went blind, because I had endured that and became diabetic, and now I have ophthalmologists to check for diabetic retinopathy. So I am hoping to lose weight. I weigh 257 now. I want to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. I have fasted for 14 days, and it does say that Jesus fasted 40 days and 40 nights and was tempted by Satan, and I don't buy into that. I think Michael would be tempted by Satan, and that Peter fasted, who was Saint Michael, who cohabitated with Jesus, with the will of Jesus on his hand in the mudra on the hand of Nara, in that famous Nara Narayan sculpture, is on the hand of Peter, and Swami indicated to me that I am Nara by pointing at that mudra and saying that that's who I am. So I do want to fast for 40 days and 40 nights. I fasted for 14 days before, and it's easy peasy. And but I think I have some psychosomatic issue, and no matter what happens, I can't lose weight, so I need recovery. But I've battled weight my whole life, and I think it's something to do with self-preservation, my sexuality. I am the father of man, and I am Nara, the father of man, who was Saint Michael in the Abrahamic traditions. And I have been trying to lose weight for a long time, and I think with some psychosomatic phenomenon, some dynamic, I don't, it's just something I've been unable to do. In college, I remember over a period of 2 weeks, I had I exercised every day, and really it was thorough exercise on the exercise bike, and I could, if I kept that up, I could have lost weight. But when I met Anisha, the weight came off, and Andrew had parents over when I told him not to, and somehow something went wrong with, and I gained 125 pounds. So, but that was me at ETG. I had lost 20 pounds when Bob got there, and I had worked and had made all that much money, and I never had a conversation there, and I never filed taxes again. So, but there was Bob wouldn't write a letter of recommendation for me. I was the impetus behind getting an office open, and of traders from a firm that didn't have real used furniture, and somebody had called from Goldman Sachs at a company where there was a high school person in my training class, and Bob had sat me with a trader from Chicago, and asked him why he didn't work in an investment bank. I was referred to a position at Deutsche Bank, and when I left, they told me I would pay the tax man, and the tax deadline came and went. I didn't pay my taxes, and rather than go in there and ask for my money, I waited 17 days until I got a letter in my email account. It was a memo, but it looked like a message, and it was addressed differently. But there was a trader named Jay Park who they didn't pay. He had also gone to Bronx Signs, and he had to beg for his money, so I wouldn't beg for my money. And when that message or that memo came into my email account, I contacted management only then after 17 days, and I listened to Trouble, the cover of the Cat Stevens song by Pearl Jam during that period of time. And now it's 21 years later, and I'm 257. I was 224 when I had returned from London in 2001. I'm now 45. I was 23. And there's been a lot of years in Atlas Shrugged, in these politics, where I mean, I know what it is to get your face ripped off. It says, "In God we trust," a legal tender, and then you learn that if they trusted in God, they would not have done that to Mahatma Gandhi's India, because there would be karmic consequences. So there's always karma in life, and it does say one nation under God in the Pledge of Allegiance, but how could we be a nation under God if that happens to Mahatma Gandhi's India? So I do know what it is to be made to believe that when they proselytize with Atlas Shrugged, and they testify in Capitol Hill, and have letters from senators thanking them for the testimony, and when their spouses and partner spouse are educators, and you have to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, and you believe it, and then one day you realize that does not hold, is not accurate, and you die in the process believing it was accurate. So I do know what it is to have your face ripped off, as they say on Wall Street. But I was the best I was at my life during that first part of London. And then I got sick after repeated input or questions or regarding my personal life as far as relationships go. I dropped my meds and got very, very, very ill. So it all concluded recently with a temple on Belpre Road at the site of a Sai Lila. I was in a Starbucks. I was thinking about going to McDonald's across the way, and I was thinking about it because I was trying to regain the vegetarianism or the absence that I had lost when Lakshman Tulsi Das refuted my claim that I'm a Pitta Party delegate. And Swami's voice came into my head and said it was okay, and I went in. I was attended to by someone named Sai, who was named after Shirdi Sai Baba, and I told him that the circumstances that led me to being in that McDonald's at that particular moment. And of course, Shirdi Sai Baba is glorified at Party as Lord Shiva Swami in his previous incarnation, and I am an avatar of Shiva. Well, when you see me, you see Swami. I am Lord Subramaniam, who disposed of duty for Swami, but Swami is Paramatma. I am Mahama. So yeah, so that was ETG.